Final Fantasy X is done. Journey we started 2 years ago. I'm not kidding. I went and looked it up. 2 years ago is when it says that first video was uploaded to YouTube. It took a long time. And that puts us in an interesting spot because up to this point, it's been pretty clear where this series was going to go. We played Final Fantasy 1. Obviously, next we're playing Final Fantasy 2. Finish that. Final Fantasy 3. It's been pretty crystal clear for the most part up until this exact moment. So why is that? Well, because we're at a strange little splitting of the franchise. For one, the game we just finished, Final Fantasy X, has a direct sequel in Final Fantasy X-2, a very different game. Very short game, from what I've heard, unless you decide to 100% it, but apparently it's a game that is aimed at having you replay it to get lots of different things and lots of different experiences as you play through multiple times. The next option is, of course, if we're just doing direct numbered sequels, Final Fantasy XI, except this is where they got really experimental, and it's an MMORPG that's been going since the PlayStation 2. That's where I played it. I had the PlayStation 2, I had the network adapter, I had the 40 gigabyte hard drive. I had all of that. That's where I played it. That's when I played it, that long ago. So it's been a while. But it also has had lots of updates. It's a huge, sprawling MMO. It's a major time investment, even if it's gotten more solo-friendly and more usable for players like myself that are coming in and checking it out. It's still maybe not what we want to do, which means the one that would come after that would be Final Fantasy XII. It's sort of the next non-MMO mainline Final Fantasy game. But I've even had people tell me that it's an MMO in everything except being online. It's very grindy, it's very long, there's lots of little nuance to it, and that they think I would just have more fun doing other things. So where do we go? Which one do we play? There's pros and cons across the board, and I did what anybody would do. I put up a poll and said, hey, tell me what you guys think. Overwhelmingly, between social media and the actual poll on YouTube, people thought you should stick with Final Fantasy X-2. Go ahead and try it. See what you think. It's short. Might as well get in. Might as well check it out. And the next place was check out Final Fantasy XI. Now, I made it clear in the poll that this was just going to be a preview, so people know that I'm not getting into the MMO. I've made it very clear. Even when we started this way back in the day, I said I'm not doing the MMOs. So anything I do with the MMO is more than what we actually planned to do with the MMO. And personally, my own personal vote, which at the end of the day, I'm going to do what I want, but it doesn't mean I don't want some feedback. Final Fantasy XII is what I kind of wanted to move on to. It's been a long time since I played it. I've been kind of looking forward to getting back to it. And so I have a big draw in that direction. So which one am I going to do? Here we are. It's decision day. I have to pick what the future is for this little journey we've been on. And here's what the answer is. We are going to do all of them. That's right. All of them. Now, what does that mean? Which one am I doing first? The answer is all of them. We're doing all of them first. And what do I mean by that? How is this going to look? What are you doing? John, you've gone crazy. You're out of control. You need to be stopped. Probably true. But here's what we're going to do. We are going to kind of change the way we do the content here to sort of, I don't know, experiment. Try things out a little bit. First of all, let's talk about Final Fantasy X-2. This game, from what I've heard, is going to be shorter. It's going to be a little more focused. It's going to be a little more energetic. It's a little less deep and a little more like, just play it. Just have a good time. I even looked up some beginning tips as I was trying to just get a rough idea of what to expect going in because I have never played it at all. And they said, don't worry about it. Just have fun. Kind of sounds like a perfect streaming game to me because a lot of times I get self-conscious about what I'm doing on the stream. It's why, especially with Final Fantasy X near the end, when we got to all the side quests and all the mini games and all the grinding this and grinding that, I did it off stream. I don't think it's the most fun thing in the world to watch. Sometimes it is if the chat room's really active, but that's a roll of the dice if I turn the stream on, if people are going to want to chat about random things. And then it's also a roll of the dice to see if other people are going to care about what we're talking about. So to me, that stuff is better served offline. And that's why a lot of those grinds have been done that way. I've done it in the past with the other ones too, but before we got deep into story and voice acting and cutscenes and all of that for like the NES games and whatnot, it was easy to predict when those grinds were going to happen. It was pretty obvious. Now it's a little trickier. All of a sudden you get smacked with a cutscene. It's like, oh man, that needed to be streamed. Can't do that. Can't go here. Can't do that yet. So it's gotten tricky. I think Final Fantasy X-2 as a result is a perfect game for streaming. It doesn't sound like it's going to put me in a lot of those situations where I'm just like, this doesn't seem good for the stream. And even the cases where it might come up, it seems like it might be the kind of thing people might want to watch me slam my head against. So I think in that regard, it'll be the game we play next as we stream on Twitch and hopefully on YouTube as well. And then we'll do the same upload style that we have on all of these. So how am I going to approach Final Fantasy XI? Well, first I had to make sure that I could even install the game. And let me tell you, I want to talk about that process. That's a process worth talking about. We need to talk about Play Online. We need to talk about how for all the rocks we throw at the Final Fantasy XIV creation process, people don't talk enough about the Final Fantasy XI account creation process. We need to go through those first steps, that initial journey into Final Fantasy XI. And I think to me, that works perfectly as a video. A single video. Not part 1, part 2, part 3 till I eventually give up and people go, oh, you gave up right before it got good, or you didn't go far enough, or you didn't give it enough of a chance. Let's just be clear about what it is. It's going to be an initial experience, and if I end up sticking with it, maybe there's a second video, maybe there's a third video, maybe there's no new videos. But we're going to start with what we have, and we're going to talk about what our experiences were going into it. And that's how all of this will begin, and I think that's what works best for Final Fantasy XI. So how are we going to do Final Fantasy XII? Well, I've heard a lot about Final Fantasy XII. I've heard there's a lot of grind. I heard there's a lot of nuance. I heard there's a lot of things that you might want to read about, that you might want to plan, that you might want to consider, that you might want to spend a lot of time thinking about, especially when it comes to stuff like the gambits and setting those things up and the way the jobs work and all the little nitty-gritty stuff that if I wasn't streaming, I would love about these games. There is a part of me that as I go through these, I think, would I feel the same way about these games if I was playing them alone versus playing them on stream? And I think Final Fantasy X was a really good example of this, where a lot of the stuff I did offline, not on stream, was what many people consider the worst content in the game. The stuff that they make fun of, the butterflies, the blitzball, the dodging lightning. But it's also the part of the game that I really kind of liked. And I think it's because I just approach games differently when I'm not streaming it. So what am I going to do with Final Fantasy XII, a game that people say can be a little bit grindy, can be a little bit deep, can be a little bit, you got to sit there and think about it and take your time. Maybe even, some people have said, boring. I'm really excited for Final Fantasy XII, but I am going to go in a lot more self-conscious if I'm doing it on stream live. So I think what I'm going to do with that is it's going to become a game I play offline, on my time, at my pace, in my own way. I'm going to capture the gameplay. Most of what I play will probably be captured. And then I'm going to put together what I consider the relevant bits. Most of the game will probably make it beyond times where I'm sitting there and thinking about things and really reflecting. So it will still kind of match what we've seen in the 1 through 10 playthroughs, with some of the fluff where I'm just sitting quietly, breathing heavily into a microphone, cut out for your benefit and for mine, honestly, as well. So I'm going to be able to do all three of these things at roughly the same time. So I think that's the plan. I think instead of approaching one game, I think we're going to approach all three. Final Fantasy X-2 will be what I play when I'm streaming Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy XI will be a project that I sort of take on and do a little bit of. I've been wanting to experiment with video editing, which is something I rarely get to do when you just post a live stream. Every now and then there's stuff that needs to be cut or put together, and I really enjoy it, but I never have any realistic practice with it. No place where I can actually apply it. And so the Final Fantasy XI video, and to a lesser extent the Final Fantasy XIV playthrough, are going to afford that opportunity. That's where my head's at now. But I do want to hear what you think. Again, at the end of the day, I'm always going to do what I want to do. This isn't a channel that's designed to make the most money. Right now, if you're watching this on YouTube, this isn't even a channel that's monetized. So it's really about, what am I going to enjoy? What am I going to get out of it? And so that's going to be the biggest vote in the room. But I'm still curious. A lot of you out there have played the games. A lot of you know whether or not I'm walking into a trap. A lot of you know if this is a good idea or not. And I would welcome that feedback. I'd also welcome just ideas. If I do record all or most of my Final Fantasy XIV run, should that be posted in hour-long chunks? Should it be posted all at once? One great big mega video that you can slowly make your way through as I complete the journey for however long it may be? Or should I keep it at kind of the similar cadence of what we've had? I think these are all things that are valuable for me to know. So if you watched this video, one, thank you. This is it, basically. And two, I'd appreciate comments and ideas and thoughts. So get in there. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think of the ideas. If you think it's going in the wrong direction, tell me. I can't promise that I'm going to swerve, but I will listen. Honestly, this was originally going to be the idea, except the streamed game was going to be Final Fantasy XII, and Final Fantasy X-2 was going to be the one done off stream. And it was because of feedback that I've already switched to that. So I do listen from time to time. Not always. Sometimes I got to learn the hard way. But that's where we're at. So I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think this is going to be a good way to kind of make up for lost time to a degree, considering we spent 2 years on one title. Maybe we can actually get through the next bit a little bit faster. And maybe I can find a way that these later games are going to resonate a bit better, because I do think that while I've enjoyed streaming Final Fantasy, as the games have gotten more cinematic, more complicated, and have kind of changed, the way I would experience it organically as just the kind of person I am versus how I would do it streaming has diverged. And it has certainly created a version of me that doesn't enjoy the games as much when I'm streaming them as I do when I'm offline. But I've made a commitment and I got to do it. And sometimes that puts me at odds with the game, which then nobody likes, because it's like, John, I want you to like the game I like. And I get on there and I'm grumpy and I'm mad, and I don't want to be that. I don't want to do that. So I also think that this is going to help with that, because I am the kind of person that wants to go and say, hey, I want to make sure that I didn't miss anything. I've watched a lot of videos on other Final Fantasy games, ones I've already played, and seen that there's quite a bit of content I've missed because I didn't want to be spoiled. And I think about it, and it's like, if I had sat down to play Final Fantasy IX with a guide, I would have made damn sure I fought Hades. I'm pretty sure I never did fight him. I think I missed that part of the game. I wish I had, but I didn't, because I was too worried about spoiling myself and having people go, you're reading a guide, which sometimes I do. The sphere trials in Final Fantasy X really broke my will to not look at a guide. So how I would approach it is going to be very different. And I think it also reflects what we would have done as kids. We would have gone and bought the guide, not the Final Fantasy IX guide. That would have been useless. If you know, you know. But other guides we might have read to help make sure we get the most out of the game. And that's the kind of player I tend to be. And sometimes when it's the chat leading me, that works out great. The Final Fantasy VIII playthrough comes to mind, where they made me OP immediately, and I was awesome throughout the entire game. What a time that was. Sometimes it doesn't work out so great, where I just completely miss elements of the game, and that's a bit of a bummer. And then sometimes it's inevitable. I get to something like Ruby Weapon in Final Fantasy VII, and I know there has to be a trick. And the only way I would have found that out is online. How the pioneers of Ruby Weapon figured it out, I don't know. But not me. I went online. That's how I did it. So that's where we're at. Anyway, thank you for sticking with me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And I'll see you soon for Final Fantasy X-2, Final Fantasy XI, and Final Fantasy XII. Till then, bye everybody.